What's up guys, Rogue9 here. Operation Phantom Sight for Rainbow Six Siege has finally gone live and there are loads of major and minor aspects of the game that are changing. After a full 3 weeks on the test servers and several patch updates during that time, it can be hard to remember everything that is changing, so in this video I will be giving you a detailed breakdown of everything new coming to Siege with the new season. I will add a pinned comment below with the various topics of the video, so feel free to pick and choose from there as you wish. Let's go! Topic number 1 will be all about tweaks to operator abilities and gadget loadouts. First up is a minor buff to Vigil and Caveira. Up until now, we have only been able to trigger their stealth abilities when their gauges were at a 100% charge, but going forward, we will be able to activate their abilities at any time as long as their charge is above 20%, indicated by the meter turning red. This will allow for greater flexibility when using their abilities and will make them consistent with Team Rainbow's newest stealth operator, nerf. Finka's adrenaline boost is also receiving a minor buff. It will now clear the tinnitus audio debuff that characters will suffer after being too close to an explosion or flashbang. This new feature will join the existing list of 47 different effects that the boost has on all players on the attacking team at the push of a button. Yay, I guess? Frost's welcome mats are being nerfed. Up until now, the health pool for each mat used to be 100 points, so that is the health of the gadget itself, determining how many times you need to shoot it in order to destroy it. With the new season, Frost mats will only have 66 hit points, so around a third less than before. What does this mean in practice? Well, I've run the numbers for all attacker weapons in the game, and as you can see here, we used to be able to destroy the mats with between 1 and 4 shots at close range, depending on the weapon, with the average across all attacker weapons being 2.767 shots. Now that the mats have reduced health, you can see that there are more weapons that can one-shot them, and the maximum number of shots you will need with weaker guns will be 3, with the average now 1.932. There were reports last season of subtle changes to the vaulting speed that sometimes made it impossible to destroy a mat that was placed under a window, and I believe that this change is intended as a direct counter to that issue. But that's just a guess on my part. Pulse has seen a buff to his cardiac scanner that will make him more self-reliant and allow him to get kills a little easier. The patch notes addendum tell us that the unequipped time for his sensor is being reduced to 650 milliseconds, down from 800 milliseconds previously. I tested this out for myself, and so here is the full breakdown of all of the different times involved with this gadget. Unequipping the UMP and taking the scanner out will take a total of 1.7 seconds, which is unchanged from the previous seasons. Unequipping now takes 150 milliseconds less than before, but keep in mind that readying the UMP takes another 300 milliseconds after that, so the switch to fire time that used to be 1.1 seconds is now going down to 950 milliseconds. There used to be an inconsistency when unequipping the scanner and immediately ADSing allowed you to complete the animation 100 milliseconds faster, but this has now been fixed and the total switch to ADS or switch to fire time will always be a consistent 950 milliseconds. The change to Glaz's sniper scope that was announced ages ago is now also finally going live, and he will therefore receive a significant nerf. As you can see, Glaz's banana vision will now only work once he is stationary, so we will no longer be able to push a sight aggressively under the cover of smoke. What exactly does being stationary mean in this context? Well, back in the old Lion days, it meant that you were not allowed to give the game any movement input, but this has been changed. For Lion, Warden and Glaz, if you're pushing up against a wall that stops you from moving, the game accepts that you are stationary even if you are providing movement input. But while Lion scans will not be triggered by switching stances, for both Glaz and Warden, changing stances will count as movement. Make sense? Now, the new version of Glaz's scope currently has 3 stages of intensity to the thermal vision, and it takes 250 milliseconds, 350 milliseconds, and 350 milliseconds for each of the stages to appear, and then 150, 850, and 883 milliseconds for each stage to disappear. That last stage taking a couple of extra frames to disappear is a bit odd, but it was very consistent in my tests, so there. It's probably meant to be another 850 milliseconds though. Nevertheless, it takes Glaz 950 milliseconds of standing still before his gadget develops its full potential, and that is quite a nerf. On the plus side, there has been a bit of a buff to his rifle that helps cement him into his intended sniper role a bit more. In the past, Glaz's rifle had a very early and very steep damage drop-off, and even after a buff a few seasons ago, the drop-off range was still between 5 and 15 meters. But good news everyone, this counterintuitive design has now been scrapped, and the rifle has been modified to use the standard damage drop-off for the designated marksman rifle class in Rainbow Six, i.e. between 25 and 40 meters. The damage itself has not changed, it is still 71 up close and 59 at 40 meters plus. The reload speeds are the same and the fire rate is also unchanged, with 280 RPM being highly achievable. So in conclusion, Glaz is still getting a major nerf, but at least he's a bit more powerful at longer ranges now. And last and probably also least, Caveira is getting a bit of a loadout buff, nerf, well, let's call it a change. I personally think that this is a bit of a nerf, but the devs are labeling it as a buff, so what's happening? Well, Caveira is losing access to barbed wire and instead will get a nitrocell to play with. According to the devs, this change is in response to a performance review and player feedback, and they are hoping that this will make him more versatile as well as increase his pick rate. Now, nitrocells are undoubtedly very useful tools to have, but of course Caveira's electroclaws have a unique synergy with the barbed wire that in many situations allows you to electrify the wire for free when protecting a wall. The claws are very hard for anyone but Thatcher to take out, and therefore a well set up wire can be a great defense against Twitch drones. Losing the ability to create these setups by ourselves is, in my eyes, a nerf, but why don't we put it to a vote? Use the card in the top right hand corner to give me your opinion. Losing wire and gaining nitro, nerf or buff? Pick now. This episode is brought to you by FanFit Gaming, the officially licensed provider of Rainbow Six Siege fan merchandise. In their 6 collection, they offer a range of extra-large metal and enamel Rainbow Six operator pins, sized 4 cm by 4 cm or around 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And even cooler than the pins is the Rainbow Six themed neon light. Click on the link in the description below to check out these items and more. Using the referral link helps out the channel, and if you use the code ROGUE9 at checkout, you will receive a 10% discount on your purchases. So if you're in the market for some cool pins or an even cooler light, go check out FanFit Gaming. And that brings us to our next topic of changes, weapon adjustments. One of the most prominent here is definitely the Twitch nerf. After Ashe lost the ACOG on her R4C, Twitch took over as the queen of the attackers, and this is undoubtedly down to the combination of a useful gadget and one of the best guns in the game. To counter this, the recoil on her F2 has been changed to make it just that little bit harder to use. As you can see in the comparison here, the vertical recoil between each shot is being increased slightly, but at the same time we are seeing a bit of an improvement in terms of the random horizontal movement. Before the nerf, her gun had a very consistent cyclone-style pattern where the gun would first travel left a bit before swinging out to the right. Now her recoil will be much straighter, so while we will need to compensate for the climb a bit more in future, the reduction in horizontal sway should actually make it easier to stay on target with enough practice. Another impactful change is the update to the high-powered D50 handgun that is used by Valkyrie, Blackbeard, and now also nerf. You can now attach either a suppressor or the muzzle brake to this hand cannon, and as cool and stylish as a suppressed 50 cal pistol may be, I firmly believe that the muzzle brake is the big news here. Without this attachment, the D50's recoil is so aggressive that it is very difficult to use the gun effectively while firing off bullets as quickly as possible. Now with the muzzle brake attached, the recoil becomes much more manageable, and the D50 can now finally compete with the newer hand cannons such as the Keratos 357. Being able to pump out an accurate, high-powered hail of massive lead and copper projectiles finally makes the D50 a truly effective sidearm. The other changes to guns are probably less impactful. The FMG9 used by Smoke and Nerk is losing the standard holographic sight and will instead get the newer Vortex optic that you will recognize from Mozzie. Bandit's MP7 probably had one of the most user-friendly iron sights in the game already, and this is being improved even more with green markings that make it easier to acquire dark targets. It's now definitely worth considering these sights instead of any of the attachable ones. The best title for this next topic is probably visual changes and UI. First of all, the colors for all the cameras in the game, including drones and camera-based gadgets, are changing. Instead of the red lights for active cams and gadgets and white lights for hacked active cams and gadgets, the colors will now be blue if the object is controlled by a defender, yellow if it's controlled by an attacker, and when Vigil or Nerk use their cloaking devices, deceived cams will show white for them. I think the underlying idea of making gadget lights easier to interpret is great, but the blue-yellow designation based on team still has a potential to be confusing in the heat of the moment. I personally believe that a much better solution would be fixed colors based on friend or foe. If the light is blue, then no matter what team you're on, you know it's under the control of a friendly operator. If it's red, it means enemy. Simple and consistent. And fine, if you really want to go with blue-yellow instead of the traditional blue-red labels for friend and foe, then go ahead and stick with that if you want, but at least keep it based on friend and foe rather than attacker and defender. Next, we have the change to HUD visibility. From now on, if your character is flashed or stunned, the HUD info will still be visible to you rather than also being obscured. So even when you are completely blinded, you will still know which direction you're facing or which weapon you have equipped and how much ammo. This probably won't make a huge difference in most cases, but good to have that info anyway. And finally, we're getting an updated operator selection screen before each round, with more information shown to us, including a difficulty rating for each operator, which, while subjective, can still be useful to newer players. The next topic will be the changes to ranked mode and, more importantly, the ranking system. Playing ranked this season will provide us with an experience that is just that little bit closer to the competitive settings we see in Pro League. We will be able to pick and ban operators, although no 6th pick. There will be 3-round rotations instead of teams swapping after each round, so 3 rounds attack and then 3 rounds defense or vice versa, and the hostage and secure area modes have been removed. The in-game menu also now gives us a fancy new overview of the progress we have made in ranked for the season, which is quite neat. As you may know, the matchmaking and ranking system used by Rainbow Six Siege is the true skill algorithm developed by Microsoft. This is used in both ranked and casual modes, and if you want to get more of an insight into how that system works, I made a video about that once. See card in the top right-hand corner of your screen now if you want to check that out. In my opinion, one of the greatest weaknesses of the matchmaking system in Siege is the seasonal reset. Up until now, at the beginning of every season, every player was reset to 2500 MMR or Gold 4/Silver 1 no matter what their rank was in the previous season. So basically, on the first day of a new season, a very new player who was ranked bronze in the season before could solo queue and end up being matched against a 5-stack of pro players because everyone has to re-establish their rank from scratch. Thankfully, this state only lasts for a little while until the players have ranked up or down to where they should be based on their skill, but it can still be frustrating to have virtually random matchmaking at the very beginning of each season. Ubisoft have also recognized this weakness, and from now on, the seasonal rank reset will be softened. Instead of being set all the way back to 2500 MMR, players will now be set halfway between their previous season rank and the Gold 4 Silver 1 starting position. So if we assume that you were ranked Plat 2 at 4000 MMR at the end of Burnt Horizon, then your starting rank in Phantom Sight, that is the rank for your very first placement match, will be Gold 1 at 3250 MMR. And the same goes for anyone ranked below Silver 1. You will now be placed halfway between your final rank and the midpoint of the ranking system instead of being forced all the way to a rank where you may struggle at the beginning of the season. There are limits set into this system though. If you were at Diamond rank, you will be set to a maximum of 3500 MMR starting point, so Plat 3, no matter how high your MMR was, and the lowest ranked starting position is 1500 MMR or Low Copper 2. The devs acknowledge that this new system has the downside of removing a little bit of the grind element to playing a new season of Ranked, because highly experienced players will reach Diamond much quicker, and the devs have mentioned in the patch notes that they are working on a system that will bring back the grind for those players that want to experience this. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do here because in my opinion, a system that still includes the grind and sense of achievement of ranking up, but also ensures better matchmaking from the start of each season will be a significant improvement for all players. But for now, the soft MMR reset is a good step in the right direction. Next up, there have been some gameplay tweaks that are designed to eliminate the possibility of drawing around, and there have also been some tweaks to the way in which reverse friendly fire works. So the idea of the first change is to eliminate draws that in the past were able to occur when the last two players in a match managed to kill each other at exactly the same time. Now, if the remaining players die at the same time, the following win conditions come into play. For bomb mode, if the diffuser has been planted and all players die at the same time, the attackers win just like before. But if the death occurs before the diffuser goes down, the defenders win. If simultaneous deaths occur in secure area or hostage game modes, the defenders get the win. I guess at the end of the day, draws were always pretty unlikely anyway, but now with these new rules, they should be basically impossible. Reverse friendly fire is now not only triggered once you get a full team kill, but even downing a friendly unit will trigger the effect. When I tested this in a custom game, it had the undesirable side effect of activating RFF, but because the teammate didn't die, he didn't get the option to forgive, which would then always result in a guaranteed punishment for downing a friendly, even if by accident. It makes no sense to offer a forgive option for team kills, but not to give that option for team downs. But the devs have already confirmed to me that this is not how the system is supposed to work, and a fix is already being worked on. Another change to the system is that when explosives or area of effect gadgets are used when RFF is active, the teammate and the player both take damage and can both die. This punishes purposeful team damage with gadgets and still ensures that suicide rush tactics such as fusing a room with the RFF on and the entire team rushing in through the explosions will not work. And last but certainly not least, there have also been changes to how soft cover penetration works, and on the reworked version of Cafe, there is now even essentially a new type of soft cover. Exciting stuff! So simple things first. In the past, bullets used to be able to penetrate essentially an infinite number of soft walls. Almost all walls in Rainbow Six have 2 layers, each of which reduce the power of a bullet that passes through them by 30%, so after a number of walls the damage would be pretty weak, but you could always get a lucky one-shot headshot across a long distance and through multiple breachable walls. This is now no longer possible though. Bullets will only penetrate a maximum of 2 standard layers of breachable wall and will then be completely absorbed by the 3rd layer of wall without creating a hole or causing any damage. So if you shoot somebody through a single layer of wall or barricade, you will do 70% damage. After 2 layers, the damage will be 49%, but if there's a 3rd layer in the way, no damage at all and not even a bullet hole in that layer. These new rules apply to standard walls, whether plasterboard or wood, and barricades. And in addition to these changes, there is now also a new type of sturdy soft cover that has been deployed in various locations around the reworked cafe map in the form of wooden furniture. Before the rework, these objects would just let bullets pass through them without creating holes but still doing damage to anyone on the other side. Now these objects have been reworked with either 2 or 3 layers of soft panels that reduce the bullet damage not just by 30% but by 66% instead. And not only that, but each shot will only create a hole in the first layer and you will need a 2nd or even 3rd shot before you can do any damage to opponents on the other side, depending on how many layers there are. As far as I've been able to tell, this new, tougher form of soft cover has only been used in furniture and not as walls yet, but since this material is now in the game, it should be easy to use as an alternative, tougher form of breachable wall if the developers choose to do so. I know that some Rainbow Six community members such as Bikini Body have been advocating for the inclusion of new types of surfaces for quite a while now, and maybe this kind of tougher, semi-breachable style of wall that requires a few shots before bullets start passing through could be exactly the thing we need to mix things up a bit when it comes to surfaces in Siege. I do, on the other hand, also see the argument that this could make an already complex game even more confusing. Again, let me know your opinion on this by using the poll in the top right-hand corner now. Do you think that adding new types of walls would be good or bad for the game? Vote now. Another important topic to cover is bugs, issues, and unwanted mechanics. The exploits around Clash, IQ, and deployable shields have not yet been fixed, but failsafes have been added into the game, and they were supposed to cancel out the advantages that cheaters got from activating these glitches. Sadly though, it only took a matter of days for a few dedicated lowlifes to find ways around these failsafes, and so Clash as well as the deployable shields have again been removed from the game. The sad fact is that as long as there is no punishment for cheating in the game by abusing glitches and exploits, there will always be people who will attempt to do this. And while I understand the argument that it could be possible to accidentally activate an exploit without realizing it, I think that if a certain player is abusing a glitch round after round, then it is reasonable to treat that player as a cheater and to hand them the exact same temp ban and ranked sanction that players get from playing with a cheater. But that's just my opinion. A couple of seasons ago, I highlighted a shield operator desync issue whereby the first and third person perspective of a shield operator could diverge by up to 40 degrees if that player was stationary and turned to the left. Since this problem only occurred when turning to the left and not moving forward, it probably never really caused any harm, but nevertheless, it's great to see this being fixed now. Ever since the lean spam fix that was introduced into the game with the launch of Operation Burnt Horizon, we have also been experiencing a frustrating kill cam bug that makes it seem as if the person who shot you was not even able to see you yet. In the kill cam, it looks as if your opponent just shoots into thin air, and somehow that results in your death. This understandably caused a lot of confusion and frustration amongst players, although it should be noted that this was actually a kill cam bug. In the game, your opponent would have been able to see you just fine. Nevertheless, good news everyone, this annoying bug has now been fixed, and the kill cam should now show a more accurate representation of what your opponent was seeing when they shot you. As many of you may have already noticed, drop shotting has also returned with the start of the new season, and the devs have confirmed that this is not a planned change but simply a bug. A fix for this is again expected during the season, and until then, make hay while the sun shines, I guess. If you like drop shotting, it's up to you. If you like completing the weekly challenges for Rainbow Six, it will be worth knowing that the challenges will now run from Thursday to Thursday rather than Tuesday to Tuesday as they used to do. And that's it. Man, when I started my research on what was changing this season, I did not anticipate that this video would end up going this long. It has been a task and a half, but hopefully I managed to capture all of the most important changes that you may not have known about yet. If you learned something today, feel free to give the video a thumbs up. If you have noticed any other significant changes in the game that I did not mention, let us all know in a comment below. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.